Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the D.O.G podcast. Yep. I'm joined with my co-host here, Andrew.
What's poppin'?
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Could have been better. No, I'm doing okay. Me personally, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
But just like everybody else, we're watching the news, seeing what's going on.
Through it.
Oh, man, that's some tough stuff, some crazy stuff. For those of you that don't know, or for those of you that live under a rock.
I was going to say, you living under a rock?
The whole stuff with Russia invading Ukraine, it's crazy stuff. I mean, we've been watching the news all day. Drew and I have been hanging out for a couple hours now, and that's pretty much what we've been watching. But we kind of been trying to figure out a way how to twist it and turn it and to tie it into sports. And it actually ties in pretty well into what we were trying to talk about today anyways, right?
Yeah,
and that's the Champions League and the Europa League.
Yep.
So obviously Russia still has some teams that are in the Champions League.
They're in Europa League.
In the Europa League.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for us there? Like, what do you know so far?
Well, I already forgot.
I know you were looking it up earlier.
Spartak Moscow just moved on to the round of 16 in the Europa League.
Yeah.
And as we know, Moscow is the capital of Russia.
Yeah.
So it's real interesting to see kind of like where they go from here. I know that UEFA has already put out a statement that they condemn all the actions that's going on over there in Russia and the Ukraine. And I believe Zenit's still in it too. But basically the Champions League, first thing that they did was they canceled the final that was supposed to be in St. Petersburg. Like, nah, we're not going to have that.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Our biggest cup final in all of Europe take place in Russia this year. So they really haven't picked a new location. They're in the process of looking for that right now. And then the next thing kind of goes away from Champions League and more into the international stage. World Cup qualifier, Poland was supposed to play in Russia, and they've already said that game is not going to happen in Russia. And there are even talks, some rumors going around to potentially punish Russia into the World Cup. Maybe not letting them go if shit continues. And
well, obviously,
you can't blame FIFA for putting their foot down like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting, and I think if they are going to play that game, it's not going to be in Russia. I think they said that it'd be in Poland for obvious reasons. But I mean, that game is set up for a month from now. I think it's actually March 23rd, so a month from yesterday. In a month, Russia could potentially be at the front lines of Poland.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. Like it does have an effect on sports, and I think that's why we can talk about it. Is right now you're getting into the heat of this competition in Champions League and Europa League, and there's a war breaking out, and it's shitty. Like, the only reason why we're kind of talking about it is because it ties into sports a little bit. But I mean, there's things bigger than sports. The safety and livelihood of all the Ukrainians, like, I mean, it sucks, man, everything that's going on, and so it's just all around shitty.
It really is a bummer, because I know that this is this is a sports podcast. I mean, we normally just kind of bullshit. We talk about sports, and we're not diplomats, we're not scholars, we're just a bunch of bums with a couple microphones and a camera.
We spent the money, so we feel obligated to give our opinion.
I filmed the podcast with my brother yesterday, and he calls it the Ghetto Productions or what.
Hey, but he was on it. That's all.
But he was on it. No, he was on it, and it was fun. We had a lot of fun yesterday, but yeah, I mean, going back to what happened today, I mean, it kind of does. It kind of, I guess you can say, it kind of does put things into perspective a little bit. Just thinking, it's just like crazy to think of how privileged we are to be able to do something like this, and then just talk about sports and just talk about athletics and a game. And obviously today we were going to lean pretty heavy on the Champions League and the Europa League. I mean, the NFL's done. We were going to go touch up on some other stuff. But I mean, we couldn't ignore what happened today, because, like you said, there is a direct correlation with sports and with the games. I mean, just all the stuff that you just said just now was just it's already had a ripple effect.
It's been 48 hours maybe, and all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Things change rapidly,
just
man.
Quick.
And you never know, dude. I mean, in a month, you don't know what Putin's going to be up to. I mean, all sports in Europe could be canceled. All functions could be canceled. You know, you just don't know. This is something that I never thought we'd really see again. The idea of a World War III is kind of, to me, like far-fetched. It's like each country is so powerful in so many ways. It's almost like a mass genocide, it would seem like, if countries start to go to war. But man, I just hope shit gets figured out. No one wants to see this. Like, I have a hard time believing that even Russians, like the citizens, are behind this. Like, it's almost inhumane. Like the way, like, we've evolved as a society so much from the World War II to today, and to see us going back down that same path.
Your microphone is falling. There you go.
Yeah, dude, it does that.
It does that.
To see us going backwards like that, it just sucks, man.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and it almost feels like it kind of. I mean, we've never lived through something like this, like an experience, but I mean, it almost feels like they're turning back the clock a little bit, you know, and it's just. Like you said, it's just never in our lifetime do we imagine something like this ever happening to us, to our generation. But it's true. I mean, the boogeyman is out there. There are legitimate threats out there to first world countries. You know, we think we live in the U.S. and we think we're untouchable. You know, nothing could happen. And a lot of the countries in Europe probably thinking the same thing. We're just like, well, we already went through, you know, such turmoil, like we don't think it's going to happen again, not here. But then it does, and you're just like, oh shit, you know, like, you know. And I mean, we're still trying to bring it back into sports, and it's just how it have already affected so many games, you know, especially in the Champions League. And that gets me to my next thing was the owner of your favorite football team, Chelsea. He's Russian.
And he's got direct ties to Vladimir Putin, and so.
Are you choking up a little bit? You're just kind of tearing up. Oh, Chelsea.
This could be the last cup for who knows how long.
What did I say earlier? Protest Chelsea.
Oh yeah, no, I
boycott Chelsea.
No, thanks. I came to the soccer world late. I really didn't get into it after I graduated high school. Like, as a kid, like I thought soccer was cool, but I didn't follow any soccer. And I don't know what it was. And just in 2014, like I kind of got into soccer. And I don't know how I came across Chelsea, but I came across Chelsea, and it was fun to watch. But anyway, so Chelsea is owned by a Russian. And I'm not going to attempt to say his name because it's very complicated. But essentially, a lot of people are saying that he needs to sell Chelsea now. Chelsea's a $3.2 billion club.
They're a huge club.
Yeah, they're the third largest in England.
But it's also, I mean, crazy to think of how, because Chelsea essentially has no history prior to him purchasing the club, right? Which was in the early 2000s.
It was 2001, I think. He bought it.
Just a year after Putin came into power. Just saying. No,
you're not wrong, man. It might be 2004.
Something like that. But it was early 2000s. And then just to build a club essentially from the ground up, kind of similar to what happened to City as of late. But City still, I mean, for now, still hasn't been able to capture the Champions League trophy. And Chelsea's already done it, twice?
Twice since 2012.
And they made it to what? Three finals? Yeah. So, I mean, going back, I mean, that success that they were able to build there in such a short amount of time, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know what his ties are with Putin and Russia. So that's why I'm just kind of like, man, just because you're friends of a political person doesn't necessarily mean that you should sell your team. I mean, like, this is this guy's, it's his life, right? When everything was going south with Trump, and it's not nearly as bad as it is with Putin. Yeah. But people weren't calling for friends of Trump to resign, sell their franchises or sell their companies and stuff like that. So I think it's a little far-fetched. I think it's just an overreaction of sports fans that are they just see that, hey, you're friends with, like, they're comparing Putin to Hitler right now. Yeah. You're friends, or you're a colleague or whatever, and so that kind of has ties to the club. And so it's a little, far-fetched, but I understand where people are coming from, you know, but that's part of like our cancel culture right now, right?
Yeah.
Is if people don't like what you are doing, you're done. They want you out, regardless of you're a political person, you are a franchise owner, or if you work at McDonald's. Like, people will cancel you.
Well, just look at what's happening to some of the players in Europe right now. Like, for example, Kurt Zuma, the center back for Aston Villa.
Yeah, he's with Aston Villa now.
Aston Villa, yeah.
Played for Chelsea for
Chelsea for a while, right? A French center back, and was caught on video kicking a cat. Did you see the video?
I didn't see the video. I heard about it. I read a little article. I saw some stuff, but I didn't look into
But like you were saying, like the whole council culture is like they went after him. I think it was either the team or the league fined 2 weeks worth of wages, which for a soccer player it's a lot, especially in the Premier League. But like they were like legit gunning for his career.
Yeah.
They wanted him like to get suspended from the club, like legitimately end his career.
You know what is mind blowing is I heard more about Kurt Zuma than your boy over at United,
Mason Greenwood,
beating his
right?
woman. I hear more about the kicking of the cat than beating up and sexually assaulting.
It was like borderline rape stuff, right?
Yeah. I heard more. I mean, Mason Greenwood was like, for a few hours, that was popping off on Twitter and in the social media world. And then it just like died. And then
I think United had addressed it, like touched up on it. They were like, it's an open investigation and we're going to discipline him. But then that was it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Kurt Zuma is not good to kick a cat. I mean, you have a cat. I wouldn't kick your cat, even though your cat's annoying. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Jessica. Well, I don't know why I'm apologizing to her. She don't watch this anyway.
She's not going to watch it.
But yeah, it's kind of mind blowing that people can get hooked on one thing and you're done and you're done and you're done because of it goes against their views. And we'll talk a little bit later on about Phil Mickelson. Yeah, kind of along the same lines, not quite, but close. But yeah, man, I don't know. I hope everything works out with Chelsea. The owner's not allowed back in the UK right now.
That's right.
I don't know exactly where he was. It's kind of odd to me. I mean, he's a businessman. He's got places to go.
I'm pretty sure he's always traveling.
But Chelsea had just spent the last week and a half in London, so I'm not sure where he was at. But I don't know. It kind of concerns me a little bit for the future because I mean he was the bankroller, right? He came in, he had the money, and he started buying players. So we'll kind of see
successfully too. Yeah. It wasn't like I mean, if you think about Manchester City when they started early on and they started spending money like crazy, like I mean, a lot of those purchases were like not good. But I mean, Chelsea to do it successfully for so many years, I mean that's crazy. I mean, successful transfers that came in. I mean, not all of them were home runs. Like obviously the Fernando Torres one. Yeah. Super disappointment. But I mean,
same with Kepa. Nick told me today that I was high on Kepa when we signed him. That's not accurate. I hated that Kepa signing.
The Ascavilla Cuepa or whatever. Kepa?
No, Kepa, the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
No, Cesar Azpilicueta is our right wing back.
Yeah, that's right. He's the one that refused to come off the field, right? That was trying to get subbed on with
Sarri a couple years ago. Yeah. And then somehow he ends up saving the penalty and winning the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that was at that point like Sarri's out. Like he just got told
Kepa
off.
said, "This is my club now."
Yeah. I mean, how are you the boss?
Look at me.
How are you the boss? You ask for a sub. The player throws a fit. And then he stays, and then he wins the game. Yeah. He saves the penalty and wins the game. After that, it was like, well, we're gonna need a new boss next season.
What I do find interesting about Chelsea too is how they've managed to win Premier League titles, Champions League titles, all with different managers.
Yeah, and you know, it has a lot to do with their director, Marina. And again, the last name is extremely hard to say because she's also Russian.
Oh, okay.
And so when Nick sent me an article today about the Chelsea owner.
Shout out Nick, dude.
Yeah.
Also, before you get to it, Nick also made our new logo.
Oh yeah, the D.O.G. Yeah,
it was pretty dope, dude. I like it a lot.
That's extremely dope.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
Came up with it on a whim. He got very insulted that he didn't do the old logo. So
okay.
Hop on here real quick.
No, but go ahead, continue.
And I was like, you know what? If he sells the club, it's not the end of the world. Really, the director's the one that's pulling all the strings. She's just using his money to do it all. I'm sure they have a vision at the same time.
Yeah.
But she's got a vision, and she executes it with the new managers. I mean, Frank Lampard, I think, was a good manager. It just, or the system just didn't work for him and his players. And you took those same exact players with Tuchel, and we were European champions.
Yeah.
By we, I mean Chelsea. Chelsea was European champions. It's the same exact player. They didn't buy anyone else mid-season. Like, it was just the same exact people into a different formation, met the new coach's vision, and it was phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, something that Chelsea does really well is they're a really good defending team. And the first thing Tuchel did when he came in is move from a 4 defensive line to a 5.
To the 5 in the back.
It's 5 in the back, and you have 2 wing backs. So you have
James Reese.
You have Reese, and then you have Ben Chilwell on the other end. Yeah. And that was working really well until both of them got hurt. And so now we're kind of moving backwards with Marcus Alonso and Cesar Azpilicueta. They're both good.
But, I mean, they're both, a little bit older. Yeah. They don't really push up the field like they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they fit into his system. And that's one of the first things he did when he came over to Chelsea is he changed the formation and realized our strength is our defense. We've got arguably the best keeper in the world in Edouard Mendy. And
arguably, big time arguably.
He's better than De Gea.
But he is. He's having a great year. De Gea is also having a great year. He's definitely the past couple of years he really did fall off there for a little while, but he's coming back into form. I mean, he's been our best player probably for the past 2 years now.
Well, I didn't know this up until Nick said it yesterday. He did win Premier League Player of the Month in January.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
No, he's had an awesome season.
But he didn't win FIFA Goalkeeper of the Year.
No,
Edouard Mendy did.
Yes.
But anyway, just to get back on track, it's cool to see that Chelsea has had a lot of success with different managers. They just buy the right players that fit in the right system, and they've bought a lot of players that don't fit into the system. Higuain didn't fit into the system. Lukaku's not really fit in the system right now. You said Fernand Torres didn't really fit in the system, but it works. They find out some way to make it work. We bought Timo Werner last year, and it was going to be the next big thing, and he's been kind of a flop. Kai Havertz was a huge flop at the beginning of the season, and then he won us.
He's won the Champions League.
He won
for you guys.
the Champions League for us, and then he just had a goal 2 days ago in the Champions League. So it's all works well in Chelsea.
What do you feel about Pulisic being there?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. The only downside is
he doesn't get enough playing time.
Yeah, but Chelsea has such depth in their wings too, dude.
They have a lot of wing backs.
Where we don't have depth is up top. It's Lukaku or Kai. Timo's up there, but it's almost like Timo's saved for like FA Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, you really don't have that established number 9 that's gonna go and score 30 goals for you in a season.
And Kai is more of a midfielder by trait, and so to see him up there is different. It's kind of panning out a little bit.
But he's not necessarily like that natural striker.
Yeah, Chelsea's got a lot of depth in their midfield and a lot of depth in their defense.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Jorginho and N'Golo Kante and Kovacic, which is a real solid midfield. And then you've got a ton of wings with Mason Mount, Pulisic, Ziyech. I mean, there's a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that contributes to their success a lot because there's a ton of rotations.
Yeah.
The downside is Pulisic has been hurt a lot. He's always been hurt.
He's injury prone.
He's a small guy. So when Chelsea was really rising in the last like 10 months, 12 months, whatever it is, he was hurt a lot of it. So it's hard to get playing time.
Yeah.
But the depth is what carried the team.
Yeah.
They were able to play Champions League on Tuesday and Premier League game on Saturday.
Yeah.
And just rotate these guys in. And they really didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, their success says a lot. But another question I wanted to ask you too, I mean, kind of tying it back to the Russia stuff, do you think this is going to somehow affect their finances now with having the owner that they have? He's obviously probably not going to sell it.
They're probably. Maybe. I would assume that one of the first things that's going to happen is potentially be an audit. I would assume, just kind of see where this money's coming from.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Europe is kind of trying to do something to, show some sort of action, especially UEFA, to I guess kind of try to combat this. Whatever's going on over there.
And you know what? Maybe he's not doing anything, right? I mean...
it's just this all speculation.
Nothing's been proven. Yeah. He's just has ties to...
He just happened to
be a real shitty person right now.
Wrong place, the wrong time.
The most hated guy on the entire planet, he is friends with.
Yeah.
So,
It's tough.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
Damn. You and Hitler go way back, huh?
Oh, you put that evil on my podcast, dude. How dare you? Keep that shit to yourself, Andrew.
My bad. Yeah, and it could be just detrimental to off-season purchases.
Yeah,
you could get guys that don't want to sign with Chelsea, associate themselves with someone who's friends with an evil dictator.
And it really sucks because then now we already kind of saw how it affects the Russian teams going into the UEFA Champions League, especially right now in the round of 16s, and the Europa League. Who right now is alive that you said?
Zenit and Spartak Moscow.
Yeah, they're still involved. I mean, it's going to be very
CSK Moscow's
out, huh? So it's going to be very interesting to see how that stuff plays out. I mean, are they going to? I mean, obviously, no one's going to travel to Russia to go play. Are they going to have to go to like a neutral site to go play? I mean, are some of those?
I mean, they just finished the first knockout stage right now
of the round of 16.
Yeah. So I mean, I could almost see like a no travel ban on some of these Russian teams.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, as UEFA, if you don't condone this action that's going on, how are you going to condone their teams coming to play?
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I think if you're going to be anti-Russia right now, then their team shouldn't be playing in your tournament, right?
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I'd probably kind of give them the boot until something's figured out. This is done, and who knows how long that could be.
Yeah.
I mean, if this continues to escalate, like I said, who knows if we even have games in a month from now across Europe.
Yeah. And that's crazy because I 100% agree with you. They need to do something, not just kind of tiptoe around it and then just go some all in and some all out. I mean, it really sucks because those teams, the players and the coaches, they had nothing to do with it. Yeah. But it really is a shitty situation. Moving on from that, I mean, we'll stick with the Champions League. But how did you like the games this past weekend, man? Or this past week?
They were pretty good. You know, a lot of it is what I expected. I expected Juve to beat Villarreal, and they didn't.
They did.
Man City just destroyed the Portuguese Sporting Lisbon. That wasn't bad. Yeah. Really cool to see PSG take that 1-0 victory over Madrid.
That sucked. That really hurt.
Yeah, that
really hurt. Because I watched that game, and Courtois had some pretty awesome saves. I would give him that. But the way they were defending, it was really tactical because a lot of those opportunities that were created and a lot of shots that they had on goal weren't really clear-cut opportunities. But I think it's just those attacking three in the front just really created enough space. I mean, just based on their talent to get a shot off, right? Yeah. Or to get a chance or an opportunity when it looked like there was almost nothing there. The only thing is maybe Real Madrid played a little too defensive.
Conservative.
Yeah, they conceded a lot of pressure, and I feel like they had some opportunities to hit on the counter, but they didn't. When they were defending and when they had an opportunity to go counter, they had so many players that were out of position, which I thought was weird. I feel like they could have played it a little bit better, but it looked like they were going to go for the 0-0 draw, and I was like, okay. We're okay. This puts us in the driver's seat because we go back to Real or to Madrid, and then whatever happens in that game happens. But now Mbappe gets a little bit of space. You're down 1-0, and now you got to go to home and down play 1-0. From behind. Yeah.
I didn't get to watch the ending. I was at work, and I watch usually right now during Champions League. I take my lunch right at kickoff.
Yeah.
And I watch the first 30 minutes, and then I try to listen to majority of the second half.
Yeah.
While I'm working. And my initial reaction was, wow, like PSG came out and just full out attack, like just punch Madrid in the face and try and score as soon as possible. It didn't work. They didn't score right away, but that was their mindset. And it looked like Madrid was like caught off guard by that. They were almost like expecting more of like a chess match, a very
more
slow,
more fluid
strategic
game.
type of game. And it really wasn't. PSG just came out like blaring it and put a lot of pressure on that back line right away. Like you said, Courtois was under pressure. It seemed like all game.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it.
It was awesome to watch.
I typically, when I have no vested interest in a game, I typically root for the underdog. So when we were talking Rams and Bengals, at the start of the game, I was kind of rooting for the Bengals. Then OBJ gets hurt. And now I'm rooting for the Rams because I'm like, I kind of want this team that's not supposed to win now to win. And so PSG's a good team. I mean, they got Mbappe, they got Messi. But I think Madrid's a better team. And so I was kind of rooting for PSG a little bit, even though I do like Courtois. I think Courtois is one hell of a goalkeeper.
Ex-Chelsea player.
That doesn't really have to do with it a whole lot. I just think he's a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a fun game to watch. But do you think PSG has what it takes to just go ahead and carry it all the way through?
I think I've seen a better PSG team than this not do it.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know. I mean, they got Neymar, they got Mbappe, they got Messi. Neymar didn't play. I don't know if he's hurt or what.
He got subbed on.
Did he?
Yeah, at the end of the game. Yeah.
But could they do it? Would it shock me? No. But I mean, PSG hasn't won the big game. Like this is the typical PSG story. Yeah. They make it to the round of 16. They beat the first team they play, and then they lose.
In the quarterfinals
or the semis. That's
they made it to the final.
And they lost.
And they lost. Yeah.
And then Tuchel leaves, and then he went with Chelsea.
He went with Chelsea.
So
that's right. Yeah. Do you think a lot has to do with Pochettino's tactics, or maybe his leadership? You're playing essentially with three of the biggest names in all of football right now, and some of his tactics, and we know he likes for his teams to have high energy and press all the time. Now you have three players that don't want to press. You bring Di Maria in there, you have four players now that don't want to press. You know,
Di Maria is old. He's like 34.
And he's old already. So do you think it's his tactics, or do you think it's his management style, or he's having trouble managing these stars?
I don't want to knock him. I mean, they beat Madrid. I mean, Madrid's no slouch when it comes to Champions
But then they
League.
turn around a few days later and they lose in League One.
Pochettino, what has he won?
Yeah, I'll give you that. Because
he was with Tottenham for the longest time,
and then just made them to the Champions League final.
This close to winning the Champions League final, and they came this close to winning the Premier League, and they didn't win either one.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they even got that close to winning the Premier League.
Yeah, Chelsea. This is why I remember, because Chelsea put the nail in the coffin on their chances of winning the Champions League. This was
Premier League.
Yeah, the Premier League. This was like 2018 maybe, because I just remember it's like this badass goal from Hazard that's just coming. He's coming from the corner of the 18 and he just whips this cross way in on a one touch, bro. It was
R.I.P. Hazard, dude.
Yeah,
poor guy.
Now he's losing with Madrid.
He's not even playing with Madrid anymore.
He's still losing on the bench. He's ultimately losing.
The dude's a bum.
He's overweight.
Overweight, lazy, just a complete bust.
The only thing he didn't do with Chelsea was win the Champions League, and then a couple years after he leaves, they end up.
That's when they won it. Yeah, that's right, because they won it before he even got there.
There was a lot of rumors like 4 or 5 months ago about him potentially coming back to Chelsea.
They don't want him back, huh? They're about over it.
We got so much depth, dude.
Yeah, you guys don't need him.
It just
I felt at this point he's just going to take up space.
Maybe, like we discussed earlier, maybe Chelsea has a tough time re-signing some players this offseason because of political issues. So you never know. I would take him back. Would I immediately throw him in the starting lineup? No. But
I wouldn't take him back. I mean, I feel like him and Gareth Bale are about the same boat. I feel like their careers are about done.
Chelsea has this knack of getting former really good players and then bringing them back and then being successful with them. They did it with Drogba. It seemed like Drogba was in a decline, and then he comes back to Chelsea, and they win the Premier League.
Did he ever leave?
Yeah, he left. I don't remember where he went, but he left.
I don't think he left. I mean, he contemplating leaving, and then
I'm gonna have to look
and then he won the Champions League, and then that's when he left.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
after he wins the Champions League, and then he
came back.
Yeah, he came back.
No way.
Yeah,
I thought after that he went to go play. Was it like Turkey or something? And then he came.
Galsberg,
yeah,
Galstra,
yeah, and then he came back, and then he came over to the U.S. and he was playing here in the U.S. for a little while.
No,
I don't necessarily think he ever went back to Chelsea.
Bet.
But if I'm wrong, correct me.
Oh, I'm going to correct you right now.
If I'm wrong. That's anything?
Yeah. So he was with Chelsea from 04 to 12, wins the Champions League, then leaves. Goes to Shanghai in China.
Oh, he went to China.
Then to Galstra in Turkey, and then back to Chelsea 14-15. They won the Premier League.
Oh, okay.
Dang
I'm
it.
proven wrong.
I should have got you a...
Touché.
Then he went. That's when he came.
And then
to
he came
the
to the U.S. Yeah, because I remember he came. He
Montreal,
came.
And then to
he came
Phoenix.
to play in Phoenix, and then Phoenix came to play here in Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
They played against. I want to say.
You don't know. You don't remember?
It wasn't the Fresno Fuego.
No, the Foxes, dude.
No, it wasn't the Foxes either.
Yeah, that's.
It was no. It was a different team that they had brought in. That came to play. I think it was the Earthquakes, something like that, or like Chivas USA, because this was a while ago.
Okay,
maybe, yeah, so something like that, because it might have been Fresno Fuego, but they came and played, and I went to that game, and he didn't fucking show up.
Yeah,
he wasn't here.
No, I knew that.
Dude, fucking Drogba.
Drogba ain't coming to Fresno.
He
bro.
was beast though. I mean, at the prime of his career, he was beast. He was fucking powerful ass striker. He was awesome to watch.
He was big, fast, and aggressive.
Yeah, dude. Staying on the topic of the Premier League, did you see what Antonio Conte said yesterday about Tottenham?
No.
So essentially what he said, because Tottenham lost to Burnley 1-0 yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. So yesterday,
after winning a big game the week before,
exactly.
Being Pep at home.
Exactly. So they lose to Burnley 1-0.
Typical Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham did.
That's what I'm saying. It's typical Tottenham.
Yeah. And then Antonio Conte just come out and said, is just essentially what he said is that the club isn't allowing him to do what he wants to do. He said, we went 2 transfer windows. We didn't bring anybody in. None of these players are good enough. He said, we get different managers, same players, same results. Was essentially what he said, which I guess technically he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. They have Kane and Son, and that's it.
Yeah.
Who else do they got?
I mean, they have some players that they brought in, some not like necessarily big name players, but they have a solid squad that they had put together that they built when Pochettino was there, and even Pochettino, he had struggled because he wasn't able to bring the players that he wanted to bring in, and then even like a player like Dele Alli who completely just fell off. He's another English bust.
Yeah,
with
came out hot too. Like he was
he looked like he was the next big thing, and then just all of a sudden, just and then how many English players are the exact same thing, right?
Yeah,
where they come out hot as teenagers and then they're just complete bust.
Sancho next.
It looks about that. I mean, he's playing a little bit better right now, but I mean,
he's young. We'll
he's
see.
still young, so we'll see. But yeah, like he pretty much says, I mean, everybody here sucks except for me. Yeah. Like I can't get this shit. The manager before me couldn't get that shit. The manager before that couldn't get this shit done. So he's just pretty much saying like this club sucks. It's almost like he doesn't want to ruin his reputation with this club.
I understand where he's coming from. Look, Tottenham has had success, but they've never won. They've been successful, but never won.
Yeah.
He's won a title in
everywhere he goes.
Italy. He's won a title in England. Like this
back
guy,
in Italy. Yeah,
this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows to win.
So, I mean, if you're gonna get a manager, you have to. It's like hiring a head coach in football, right? This is one thing we talk about is the head coach's vision. Is the QB his vision, or does the QB not fit his
Yeah,
his
you got to
system?
allow him to come in and then change it the way he wants to do it. Yeah.
So I don't blame him for being upset with that. They pay him to do a job and to win, and if they're holding him back, then he can't do his job.
Right.
And it's just like I said this in our very first podcast with people with Urban Meyer. These coaches, they need to explain themselves in off-season interviews because they're not going to want to stick around in Jacksonville. So when they leave, they need to explain themselves. This is why I was unsuccessful. And that's what he's got to do, right? Whenever he decides to leave Tottenham, he needs to explain why he was not successful.
Interesting.
And so if they're holding him back, he's potentially thinking about the future. Like, look, if the writing's on the wall here, you can't give me what I want, and now I'm unsuccessful. I need to eventually leave. How am I going to explain to another club why I was unsuccessful at Tottenham?
But, I mean, doesn't that make you kind of, I guess, he's not wrong, definitely, but is he wrong the way he went about it? Like, I mean, do you necessarily come out and complain about your squad and your club publicly like the way he did? Or do you just do that privately, just like, hey, I know the truth. This is the truth. I share my complaints with my assistants and this and that. Like, I mean, this club sucks. But you don't necessarily go out in public and then just kind of just spew everything out and make the team that you're still employed with look bad, right?
Couple of things. One, we don't know if they've potentially have already had this conversation multiple times. I mean, he could have had this conversation with ownership 3 years ago. Hey, or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Hey, we need this, and this, and it's kind of been just on the back burner. Two, I think it's a little bit of like shock, right? Because last weekend they win at Pep's house, and he's jumping around the field.
Yeah.
He's giving high fives. He was hyped.
Yeah.
And then the next weekend to lose to Burnley.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, come on! Like that's got to be so frustrating to think that you're finally potentially turning this thing around, and despite not getting what you need, there's some positive road ahead of you, and then you lose to a low end team in Burnley.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's probably just an accumulation of frustration and in the moment type of thing.
Now, you get a result like that. I mean, because I feel like we're kind of seeing the similarities now between Tottenham and Manchester or Manchester United when we have a different manager coming in, changing stuff up, and the players still either don't adapt to the style of coaching or the style of play. Do you think necessarily now we kind of just got to start looking at like, hey, it's the players in the club. We're not necessarily just the guys up top. Yeah, definitely, because they're the ones who are bringing these players in. But now you got to just start looking at, hey, eventually these guys have to take responsibility. It's your fucking job. It's your career. Like, this is what you're paid to do, right?
Yeah.
So do you think eventually now you got to start, hey, I mean, Conte, he's pretty much the first manager to do this on such a large scale, to be like, hey, you guys need to get your shit together. I'm not the problem here. You guys are the problem here. So do you think now the players kind of just got to take more responsibility?
I think so, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I mean, you see typically
a bunch of prima donnas.
Yes.
And,
that's how a lot of soccer players are, dude.
Yeah.
These top tier soccer players, they don't
millionaires.
They don't do that.
Borderline billionaires.
I mean, look at Lukaku. And Tuchel having so much tension just because Lukaku couldn't produce in Tuchel's system. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
You know? But there's this whole like turning the back on their club, and Tuchel's not talking to Lukaku, and Lukaku this and Tuchel that. And I think that's what could potentially happen with Conte. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. He's a great manager. He wins.
I think so. Yeah.
He gets the job done.
But I mean, also he goes into places. He demands a lot from the players, the coaches, the club.
Well, coach doesn't,
and then wins, and then it kind of just all blows up in his face because of the way he is, of how intense he is, and then just goes on to the next club.
You know, that's the risk you kind of take, right? I mean, he's a good coach. He wins. You got to put up with his kind of crazy tactics. I mean, Mourinho's the same way.
That's what I was gonna say. Is he like the modern day Mourinho?
Yeah, Mourinho is the kicking and screaming and cuss at you.
Jose.
And yeah. But he is also very successful. He's won in different countries and different leagues.
That's true. Did you see him this past weekend?
He punted the ball, right?
Yeah, he had
I saw a little article and I was like, typical Mourinho.
Jose, dude. Fucking love that guy. But yeah, I mean, even like when he was in Manchester, he got results. Like he got him to I think finish second in the Premier League. He won the Europa League. That's the last time we won a fucking trophy. So, and then he won the FA Community Shield his first year there.
And I think he's got Roma in a decent spot in the Italian league. I think
they're
top four
I think
now.
Yeah. So he's got them in a good spot. But it's just I feel like all that stuff that blew up with him because I guess I don't know he didn't get along with the players. I mean, I think he even before he left, or this might have been right after he left Manchester, where he came out and said, 24-year-old or 23-year-olds now are still like kids. He was talking about Frank Lampard when he was 24 or John Terry when he was 24. Those guys were men at that time. And then at that age, that's when those guys were, they had made it to the Champions League final in 08. I mean, they were at the top of the game, and they were real leaders. Like they were actual, competitors. And now, like we said earlier, now the 24-year-olds are a bunch of prima donnas. Like Jesse Lingard's got to be the oldest teenager that I fucking know. He's what the 28, 29-year-old teenage wonder.
Yeah, I mean he's not even playing for you guys, right? Like
no, he's on the club. Yeah.
Well, but I saw him on the bench. He
was subbed on. I think against Atletico he was subbed on. But yeah, just like eventually these guys got to fucking grow up. Like Dele Alli, another one.
Yeah, dude, by the time Ronaldo was 21, that dude was a fucking
he was
man.
They were already at the top of their game. By the time Messi was 22, he already was considered one of the best players in the world.
Yeah,
same thing with Ronaldo.
They're not looking at them as kids.
That's why I was like, even Marcus, he's like 24, 25, same thing. At his age, Ronaldo was already at the top of his game.
Already a champion of Europe.
Exactly. So it's just eventually there's got to be a point where these youngsters or these quote unquote young up and coming superstars have got to take responsibility, right? And I feel like that's what we're getting over like clubs at Tottenham, Manchester United, where we have like these big superstars, quote unquote big superstars. Even a guy like Pogba, like dude, you won a World Cup, like you're almost 30, you're already past the prime of your career. And you're still behaving this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's something's maybe what happened over in Europe has got to be like a little bit of a wake-up call, right?
Yeah, maybe.
It's just, the sense of entitlement of like the younger generation, like it's just like these guys in their early 20s now are just behaving like children, like teenagers.
I mean, it's valid, man. I mean, the generations kind of change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't mature nearly as fast as we like our parents did, right? It's just a generational thing, I think, in my opinion. But I think that's
a good way to put it. I never thought about that.
That has a lot to do with the way, like the times, like right. The biggest difference between us, our generation, and our parents' generation is technology, right?
Yeah.
This whole like social atmosphere of the world, it's a lot different than the way that John Terry grew up, Ronaldo grew up, and they don't have this exposure to the world that these youngsters do now.
Sure.
And so I think that's why they don't nearly grow up as fast. It's just a maturity thing, but it affects the way they play, man. I mean, England, the national team, how many years now have they been the up and coming team, and they still haven't done shit?
Haven't done anything. Yeah. That's true. Another thing I wanted to ask you too, let's stay on the topic of the Premier League and English players. One thing I did notice is that coming back after the Euros, a lot of those players, the so-called superstars of that team, a lot of them are out of form this year.
English players.
Yeah, like if you look at someone like Harry Maguire, who's playing with absolute zero confidence right now. Like he's
bad.
He's looking like Phil Jones. Like
he's bad, dude.
Yeah, he's really bad. But I mean, Harry Kane's not scoring like he used to.
Well, he put it 2 against United or City the other day.
No, yeah, but I mean, he's not having the year that we're used to seeing, you know, and that's maybe because maybe he's playing at a team that he doesn't want to be there because he wanted to leave, you know, during the summer of last year. But then you get guys to also like Sancho. I mean, he didn't really do much in the Euros, but I mean, he's also not doing anything now. Same thing with Marcus.
All 3 of Chelsea's English Euros are all hurt.
Yeah,
Mason Mount hurt.
Mason Mount,
he suited up Champions League game, but he's been fighting injury like the last month. Reece James hurt. And Ben Chilwell hurt. So, and Ben Chilwell actually got hurt at the Euros. He kind of came back, and then
hold on, that one cut out. But yeah, it's just I feel like those guys never came back to form. It's just
you're not
maybe
wrong.
I mean maybe it's just like the heartbreak of losing in a Europa League final or in a Euro final, and then maybe too some of like the racial abuse that came afterwards and stuff like that. Which I mean it's a big bummer, but yeah, it really sucks.
I mean I think that English team was pretty good. I think they were really good. I think they deserved to be in that final. But you're absolutely right. Like it's something that I noticed like a month ago, maybe.
Yeah,
a lot of the English guys are not performing in the Premier League
at the top of the game. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's move on. I want to know. We touched about it earlier. What did you have for us regarding Phil Mickelson?
All right. This is do you remember over the summer?
Yeah.
They wanted to have like a super league for soccer.
Yes.
It was almost like the elite of the elite Champions League. And
very controversial,
very controversial. Yeah. And a lot of teams somewhat committed, right? And essentially all it did was get reform from UEFA. That's what they wanted. They wanted reform from UEFA and reform in FIFA. And once those changes were made, they all backed out of the Super League, and they're like, "We're fine. We'll play in Champions League."
Jesus,
Christ. We're good.
Okay,
we're good. Okay. So something very similar has happened in the golf world. So for those that don't know, the PGA Tour is like the elite golf tour in the entire world. It's the professional tour played here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And everyone's goal golf-wise is to become a PGA Tour golfer.
Yeah.
Well, as of recently, in the last
just keep going.
In like the last 10 years, golf has grown a lot in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, and more parts of Dubai in the Middle East. And just recently, Saudi Arabia has announced that they are going to create a super golf league, and it's going to be worth 9 figures. So we're talking $100 million plus.
Wow.
And they weren't going to open it up to everyone. It was almost going to be an invitation only to play in this league. Handful of golf tournaments. Everyone gets paid, which is a side note. In the PGA Tour, not everyone gets paid. You can be a professional golfer and you can play a tournament. And if you don't make the cut, so you play 2 days, the entire field is placed for 2 days, and then they cut the field in half. And if you don't make it to the halfway mark, you don't get paid for that weekend. You basically went out there for 2 days, you golfed, and you're not going to get paid for it. Granted, golfers make a ton of sponsorships, but they won't get paid for their performance. Saudi League, the Super League, they are going to pay everyone regardless of their performance. They had tried to recruit a handful of the PGA Tour's best players. And when they first announced it, a few PGA Tour members, elite guys, were like, no, my loyalty is to the PGA. And then one golfer, happened to be from Clovis, was linked to being like potentially the first person that's going to go. He plays in a lot of tournaments out in the East in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. He gets paid a lot of money to go over there and play. But anyway, it was last Thursday, I believe it was, or maybe it was Wednesday. Phil Mickelson who is a predominant golfer.
Yeah.
Like, he is well known in the golf world, and he is a fan favorite. Everyone loves him.
I know him from those arthritis commercials.
Yeah, exactly. My boss actually worked at a golf course in Arizona. He went to ASU, and he worked at ASU Carson and worked at the golf course. He's met Phil a handful of times. And he's told me nothing but like great stories about this guy. Everyone loves Phil. Well, Phil Mickelson was what he thought was off the record with a reporter, but the reporter published it. And basically said those motherfuckers in Saudi Arabia are crazy.
Ooh.
Like, we all know that they killed that Washington Post reporter. I forget his name, but they did a while back. And that they will execute people for being gay. But then continues by saying, but why should I not consider playing for them? It essentially could bring reform to the PGA. And so a lot like the Super League did for UEFA and FIFA, right? He was kind of going on that, like, hey, if we go and leave the PGA, they'll meet our demands. And that backfired huge. No one decided to join.
Yeah. And
within like the next 24 hours, every major golf professional on the PGA Tour opted out. Like, we're not joining the Super League. Fuck. And so Phil Mickelson like stuck his neck out there trying to be like the leader of this change. That's what he wants, is change. And it backfired. And another pretty predominant golfer, Rory McIlroy, called him ignorant, arrogant, naive, and selfish. Damn. And a lot of golfers are kind of like dumbfounded, like this guy, like everyone loves this guy. Like no one has any negative things to say about him. He's a fan favorite. If it happens often, like a fan at a golf tournament will get hit by a golf ball. He's the first one to walk over there. He'll take the glove off his hand. He'll sign it, and he usually slips them $100 bill or something like that. He'll say, I'm sorry. Like, he'll apologize, take a picture with them. You know, he'll be cool about it. About 9 months ago, he won the PGA Championship, which is one of the 4 majors out of the entire world. Yeah, and he won it at 50. He is the oldest major winner of all time. Jesus, and a fan favorite. Everyone's been rooting for him, and everyone's been rooting for him since then. 9 months later, he's the most hated guy in the golf industry right now. And it was just because he was trying to take a risk to try and draw attention. He just didn't say the right things. Yeah. And he issued an apology later on. And he apologized to the fans. He apologized to his fellow competitors. He apologized to his sponsors. Yeah. I believe he even apologized to the Saudis, but he did not apologize to the PGA Tour. Ooh. And he's still kind of getting dragged through the mud by a lot of media that it gets paid through the PGA about this whole situation. So he issued the apology, and in his apology, apparently he contacted all of his sponsorships and told them up front, like, hey, like, I understand if you need to walk away and if it needs to be a mutual thing, or we can pause transactions, stuff like that. And 2 of his big sponsors, like 20 plus year sponsors, mutually parted ways with him. And he's got some other major sponsors that haven't really commented on the whole situation. I'm not opposed, like I'm not offended by what he did. Yeah. A lot of PGA Tour players have said nothing but good things about the PGA Tour since this happened. I don't know what the locker room talk was like. Everything 2 weeks awesome. Ago. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, there could have been a handful of guys that were like, the PGA needs to do this, the PGA needs to do that. Yeah. From my understanding, in a lot of sports, athletes make 50% of media coverage, the wages on that, right? In golf, the PGA Tour only pays out 15% to the golfers. Damn. So I know that was a big focal point for Phil Mickelson. Like, hey, like, we're making you guys this money. Yeah, we should get some of that action, more than 15%. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the things that he discussed. But anyway, it's this huge thing that's blown up in the golf industry. Yeah. And a lot of people are trying to cancel Phil Mickelson. And he's a very loved guy. and it really sucks to see. I mean, he said something that was what he thought was off the record, and it wasn't.
That reporter did him fucking dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that he said it. You know, it's almost like, does that make him two-faced? Like, would he have said those things like in public? Obviously not. I mean, a lot of people are like that. They'll say something.
But I mean, I feel like nowadays you got to watch what you say.
It doesn't really matter who you're saying it to. You got to watch what you're saying.
Yeah.
So he has said that he's going to step away from golf for a while to focus on him and his family.
Damn.
I saw, like,
how old is he again? Because I mean,
he's 50, dude.
Yeah.
And he's really well off. His net worth is $400 million.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I mean, is there a possibility that he could just be like, this is the end? You know, like he could just be I'm done with this.
Force him into retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, he's set for life, assuming that he doesn't lose any huge major sponsorships. It's just kind of shocking to me.
Yeah.
And I think that he had the right idea in mind. Like he just maybe saw some issues in the PGA, and he wanted change.
He had a chance to address it.
I don't think it was a whole money thing going over there to play in the Super League, like it was kind of made out to be.
Yeah.
Because that's not like the kind of guy that he was. I saw a bunch of interviews with players, and a lot of them were like, "Hey, look, we don't want to talk about it. Let me just throw out there that Phil's a great guy. Like I've had no issues with Phil. He's a cool guy. He's been nothing but nice to me." So it's a little shocking.
But then there's a lot of guys with that mob mentality. It was just like, we're just like, not necessarily they're saying things that they agree with, but they see somebody getting attacked. They're just like, well, I got to do it too.
Yeah, exactly. So at first that kind of put this whole this Saudi Golf League to bed. Yeah. And the few days after that, they're like, well, looks like no one's going to go over there and play. But then there's a handful of players that haven't said that they're going to play, but they've said publicly that they feel like this is not put to bed yet. That the potential that this league actually forms and they still attract big name players, there's still a chance out there. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm thinking that the Middle East sees a profitable business in the golf industry. Like the golf industry since COVID has boomed. Like it's been a great thing because it's a recreational sport that a lot of people were allowed to play during COVID. Yeah.
Well, I feel like even golf, if you're playing golf, it's probably because you're a little bit higher on the social class. Like if you get what I'm saying, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's if you're bringing golf into a new community like that or a new country like that, and you start attracting big names, I feel like, that means that society's probably moving in the right direction, right? And they're on the come up, of course. So, they have tons of oil and tons of money, but like what Phil said, he went about it the wrong way. Yeah, but I feel like also he made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. Just the way he said things was wrong. Yeah, and then a handful of people feel like almost like, dude, that loyalty of you being on this tour for the last 30 years is kind of out the window. But I think he just kind of saw a bigger picture and wanted change. Yeah. It just kind of blew up in his face big time. It the wrong way. Yeah. So that sucks. I'm a fan of Phil. Yeah. He's more of his character, that type of thing. That's what I'm a fan of, not necessarily his game. Yeah. He's a good player. He's a really good player. He'll probably be a Hall of Famer easy. Yeah. But just kind of sucks to see.
Yeah. Yeah, that really sucks. I guess it goes to show nowadays. You just got to watch what you say. Yeah, watch what you say. That's all it is. Watch who you trust and who you say it to.
In this day and age, man, you can get in trouble for saying anything in front of anyone.
Yeah, it really sucks. It's really tough. But thanks, Drew. This was fun, man. This is
no problem.
We filled in a whole hour, even though we didn't have OC the G here today.
He was too cool to come hang out with us. I'm just kidding.
He was busy with a colonoscopy. That's why he wasn't able to show up. Our thoughts and prayers are with OC in his butthole. I hope everything turns out okay.
He's gonna be pissed. If
he even watches it, I'm not gonna tell him anything.
I'm not gonna tell him anything. Hey, when you do the edit, put a little stick figure right here.
C was OC.
And then still give him the name, the colonoscopy.
If he doesn't show up again next time, I'm just gonna get like a brown sex doll and just put it right there next to you with the microphone.
It's
and
gonna
just
be brown.
What would you want to add, OC?
What is your input, OC?
And it's just a zoom in on the face with the. For everybody watching at home, thanks for joining us today. I know there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world. Thank you guys for taking your time and supporting the channel. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys all in the next video. Thanks, everybody.
See you.
Bye.